At LinkedIn, we know hiring is a big deal for your small business. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. LinkedIn uses data that you can't find anywhere else to give you the best candidates, all so you can feel confident you're hiring the best person for the job. And even a little hiring bliss. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/achieve. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
The Subaru Share the Love event is on from November 20th to January 2nd. By the end of this event, Subaru and its retailers will have donated over $350 million to charity. When you purchase or lease a new vehicle during the 2025 Subaru Share the Love event, Subaru and its retailers will make a minimum $300 donation to charity. Visit Subaru.com/share to learn more.
Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. We have officially made it to the end of 2025, and just like every other podcast in the world, it is that time. We are going to be looking back at the best that 2025 had to offer. Just like in previous years, we are going to do it as an award show, which means you are listening to the official 5th annual All Things Nintendo Awards. And to celebrate this momentous occasion, bringing back one of the all-time coolest dudes I know in this industry. He is the co-founder of Kinda Funny. It's Tim Gettys. Tim, how are you doing as we put a bow on this year?
I am so happy to be back here talking to you, Brian. I love you. I love this show. I love Nintendo. I love console launch years. So I'm very excited to talk about everything that went down this year.
A lot going on in 2025 for Nintendo. I mean, you got a console launch, you've got big AAA releases, you've got third-party support swelling to points that, like, I don't know if we've seen since like the beginning of the Switch 1 era. Yeah. Like it's been a pretty good year for Nintendo. Before we jump into the awards, though, I wanted to talk a little bit about 2025, kind of in broad strokes. And before we get to that, though, like, what was your favorite event in 2025 that you attended? I think there's an obvious answer that immediately I go to, and we were there together. It was when we went to Paris to play Pokemon Legends ZA. That's going to be a hard one to top when they rented out the Eiffel Tower for us. But do any others pop up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that one was amazing for the experience, right? But in terms of for video games, I mean, it was the Nintendo Switch 2 launch event. Reveal event in New York, which you were at.
I think my top three, I think my top three are all with you, actually. Because there's the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal event. There's the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 event that
we
got to see Lupe Fiasco and and we met Tony Hawk. That was incredible. And then of course the Paris trip. So we actually we hung out quite a bit this year.
Yeah, and some all-timer trips. I really found all three of those so special in different ways. But to me, there's nothing. Nintendo has my heart. So there's nothing like the Nintendo console reveal event, because going into it, it really just feels like it's limitless possibilities and anything can happen. And some of your expectations are going to be met, some exceeded, and some will not be met. And I feel like this was such a fun, interesting one, and the energy was just so good. I'm very lucky that I've been in this industry long enough now that I was at the Wii U reveal event. I was at the Switch reveal event, and then I was at this one, all three in New York. And this one definitely was my favorite by far. And a lot of the reasons are games that we've been playing in the last 6 months since the release of the Switch 2. So yeah, that event was very, very, very special. Getting to hang out with Doug Bowser, who's retiring this year. A lot of big moves and shakeups at Nintendo.
Yeah, I was not at the Wii U reveal event, but I did go to the Wii U midnight launch in New York. I was covering that for the website I was running at the time, and that was the first time I met Reggie, which was cool.
Amazing. Yeah, Reggie, I met him at the Wii U event, but infamously, from kind of funny stories, for the Switch event, it was me and one of our business partners, Kevin, who we got in the elevator and Reggie was in the elevator and Kevin literally looked up and gasped. He went, and it was like the least cool reaction to seeing somebody of all time, but it was hilarious.
That's amazing. I've certainly had that before because it is like almost like a jump scare when you see somebody you recognize, like not from real life in real
Your body's
life.
not ready for it.
Your body is very clearly not ready, and his brain was not ready apparently for. Because I'm also, in addition to being a person that like has a very recognizable look about him, he's a large human being. Like
Yes,
he has a presence when you see him.
for sure.
So let's start there. Switch 2 is the
Yeah.
big story for Nintendo in 2025. Just talking about the hardware itself, how do you feel about the first 6 months of this thing?
Just the hardware. I mean, that's kind of hard to talk about, but for me, it's very easy, and I have a lot of thoughts. It's interesting. I've been lifelong a hardcore Nintendo fan and a hardcore tech fan, and those things very rarely play nice together. And the last decade or so has been kind of rough for your boy, just because I love playing video games. I love Nintendo games more than anything, but I also love HDR and 4K. I love my OLED TVs. I love so many things that I never thought Nintendo would even touch or talk about. Or if they were going to, it was going to take years and years and years of rumors of a Switch Pro to eventually get to this Switch 2 and get this. So I kind of just needed the Switch 2 to be a Switch 1 that has better hardware and 4K support and HDR support and refresh rate, variable refresh rate, all that stuff. That's kind of really what I was looking for, because I just want to know that when I play Link's Awakening, it's going to run. When I play Pokemon, it's going to run. Like, I love those games despite their flaws on the Switch. So the Switch 2, all it really had to do for me was like have the UI in 4K. So in so many ways, I'm thrilled. I kind of feel like they went above and beyond what I expected. I love the bigger screen. I love how slim it all is as a handheld compared to something like the Steam Deck, which I love dearly, but there is still benefits. There are times I want to pick up my Switch 2 instead of my Steam Deck because of how portable it all is. The Joy-Con 2s with the HD Rumble, I love that stuff. I think that they are a huge step up from the Joy-Con ones just because of how much bigger they are. I still don't find myself leaning towards Joy-Cons over a Pro controller in any sense, but
Definitely.
I am a big fan. Speaking of the Pro controller, though, love the Pro controller too. It is silky smooth. It is a peripheral that I would recommend to anybody, despite it being a little on the pricier side. I think that the battery life and quality of the analog sticks and the HD Rumble 2 make it all worth it, even if you already have a Switch 1 Pro controller. But my biggest kind of pet peeve that I'm going to be very annoying about, because it is something that matters a lot to me, the no OLED on the screen is such a letdown. And it's a great screen. I love that it's 8 inches. It's the size of it's awesome. The games look great. But I was so spoiled with the Switch OLED, and playing that came out right alongside Metroid Dread. And that changed the experience of that game, because those inky black levels made everything look that much better. And Nintendo have always been about art, design, and style over graphics. And I think art designs sing when the color contrast is there. And I have found myself in the opposite way, picking up my Steam Deck OLED any chance I get over my Switch 2 when playing handheld, because I just care about OLED that much. But that's a personal thing.
That's fair. And like, I have not had any significant problems with the screen just because it is such an upgrade from the Switch 1, and I never had a Switch OLED, which is odd because this show actually launched the exact same week as the Switch OLED. That was our first episode, was talking about the Switch OLED and Metroid Dread. So that you're bringing it all back to the very beginning of this podcast. But the games, let's talk about that, because we're going to get into specifics here, but like kind of a strange collection of titles if you look at it from a broad view, right? No like Mario platforming game, no Zelda game, which if you take those two, that's something that has not happened for Nintendo in quite some time when we're talking about home consoles, right? Because the Switch had Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. The Wii U had New Super Mario Brothers U. What do you have to do? Like go back to the Wii? No, the Wii had Twilight Princess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Yeah,
we've gotten those games in year one for home consoles going back to the GameCube almost. Like the GameCube was the last time that a home console did not have a Mario platforming game or a Zelda game in its first year, because Wind Waker was not the first year, nor was Mario Sunshine, right? Mario Sunshine was more than a year
correct.
after the GameCube launch. We got Luigi's Mansion,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool, but
Mm-hmm.
like it's a strange collection of games that we got. So instead we got Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, Pokemon, and Metroid. And
Yeah.
like it's not quite this simple as I'm breaking it down, but like for you, how does that feel as kind of like an on paper trade?
Ooh, on paper versus reality, I think are different things. And it's hard for me to talk about this while staying in one lane about, am I thinking about this from a business perspective, from a fan perspective, from a new fan perspective versus old fan perspective? There's a lot of different answers there, because personally, I am thrilled with this year of Nintendo, because I love when Nintendo can get weird. When we get the Kirby Air Riders, I love that we got Kirby Air Riders. Is it the best game ever? No, I gave it a 7 out of 10. But I love that we are getting a 7 out of 10 that's that creative and that has that the GameCube era energy. And Donkey Kong Bonanza, instead of a Mario game, I'm kind of in love with that idea. We're going to get a 3D Mario game, but having the Mario team do something that's different that I loved is exciting to me. And I love Donkey Kong. And this is the closest thing we've ever gotten to a Donkey Kong Country in 3D. And then Mario Kart World. There's a lot to talk about that game in terms of, is it better than 8 Deluxe or not? We also need to remember that 8 Deluxe has been going and supported for a decade. This is a brand new game that is going to be supported for a decade and will evolve and is already evolving and changing. Probably not as fast as most people want, as even I would want. But I think that's where the business thing comes in. If Mario Kart World was the best launch decision Nintendo could have possibly made. So I get it. And we can't act like the year one of this Switch 2 is like this make or break moment. That was true for the Switch 1. It's not true here. And the fact that they are killing it, selling as much as they are, and putting out as many games consistently. I've played more Nintendo games this year than I have the last couple years. I'm not saying that I'm playing more 9 or 10 out of 10s, but I have been really loving the Switch 2 editions of Kirby Starcraft with the Starcraft World expansion and being able to drop back into games that I love so much. You say there's no Zelda game, and sure, there's no core new Zelda, but there were the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom upgrades that make those games even better. There was Hyrule Warriors that is kind of seen as the debatably best of that series so far. Not my favorite thing, but we're getting things consistently, and I'm really excited about that. We know the next couple months, Nintendo's been very good this year about announcing things and having them actually come out within a couple months, and then announcing the next slate of things, and so on and so forth. And I think that when we look at from Switch 1 to Switch 2 and just like looking at the Switch 2 of like how exciting a first year as it is, nobody should be comparing it to Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. Clearly, those clear. It was a better first year. Sure, like I think you'd be kind of wild to try to argue that. But when you start looking at the surrounding games, you're one of the Switch having the Rabbids game, Kingdom Battle, right? And having a ARMS and just Super Street Fighter 2 Ultra, Super
Splatoon 2.
Bomberman R, Splatoon 2. Like there were games, but it's like I do think then you start to get into this conversation that I think this year actually does win out on at the end of the day for the, we're not talking about the heaviest hitters category, but just more the overall experience of things I wanted to play on my Switch. And that's not even talking about all the backwards compatibility and upgrades that games got, whether it's Switch 2 editions or just performance upgrades. But I'm ranting. Last thing I want to say is I think that we get caught up in the Switch 2 and not realizing when you look at things like the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, but really just sticking with the PS5, its new games that came out like around launch time were also on PS4, and that lasted forever, you know. And here we have Metroid Prime and Pokemon Legends that are on both generations. You bringing up Zelda Twilight Princess, that was also on GameCube. Breath of the Wild also on Wii U. these generational lines mean less than they ever have. So I
Mhm.
don't look at the year of the Switch 2 right now as what exclusives did the Switch 2 have. I look at it as what Nintendo experiences did I have on the Switch 2? And I'm very high on the experience I had.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if we were just talking exclusives, then yeah, that would remove two of the best games of the year in Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4. The thing that I will say that I really love about what Nintendo has done since the start of the Switch 1 era is they really decompartmentalize their developments like stable, right? Where it was like before they had the 3DS and the Wii U or the DS and the Wii, and it was like, all right, Intelligent Systems is going to design a game. Is it going to be for DS or is it going to be for Wii? And you got one or the other. So it's like sometimes you would go like months without a first party Nintendo game on your home console or your handheld. With the Switch, this is like the smartest thing they could have done when they merged their two divisions of handheld and home console. They made it so now it's like, all right, there's a new Fire Emblem coming out this month, and then next month there's a new Pokemon game coming out. It's like, yeah, those would have traditionally been on one of those places. Normally, it would have been like the 3DS; those would have landed on, right, a Pokemon game or a Fire Emblem game. But now they sit alongside the new mainline Mario game or the new mainline Zelda game, and it's like you only have to like in order to see a fleshed out schedule of releases in the way that we've seen in Switch and Switch 2, you can only accomplish that either by a massive acquisition spree, which I don't think most people want, or by consolidating your platforms. And they did
Yeah.
just that. And we've seen how successful it's been for them. Like Switch owners and Switch 2 owners and Nintendo fans in general have just been eating really good over the
Oh yeah.
past 8, 9 years. And I think that is the large thing to thank, right?
Oh, 100%, right? And again, now that everything you just said is true, but we are at a point that if you have a Switch 2, you're playing things with modern technology. The like kind of
Mm-hmm.
baseline expectation of how these things should be performing. It's like, yeah, we're in a much better spot than we've been for a very long time, and we were already in a really good spot. I do think that you get caught up in the like, okay, but Odyssey and Breath of the Wild are debatably like two of the best games of all time. Have we been getting those yet? And it's like, okay, maybe not. But I loved Bonanza. I truly loved Bonanza. I loved Metroid Prime 4. And
Yeah.
it's like, is Prime 4 better than Prime 1? No, it's not. Does that mean that the Switch 2 is bad then? Also, no, right? Like, we did our kind of a Nintendo Switch 2 review last week. And so I did a lot of research into kind of getting some stats together. And there was some pretty interesting things for me. Like, 8 new first party games, 6 first party DLC and content expansions with the Switch 2 editions, 4 first party re releases that included Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, some of the best games ever, right? Playing better than they've ever played and looked.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the bigger things here, 3 out of 6 of the Game Awards Game of the Year nominees are on Switch, and 2 out of 6 are Switch console exclusive. That's a pretty damn good year.
It is. Yeah. I mean, we Game Informer gave it Publisher of the Year, right? Nintendo Publisher of the Year. And I think that makes sense because you look at that breadth of content that they put out, especially once the Switch 2 hit, then it was off to the races. But even before that, we were getting decent releases across Switch 1. And of course, all that stuff is now playable on Switch 2, which, worth pointing out, fastest selling console ever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that
Totally.
that's something to put that's a feather to put in your cap if you're Nintendo as well.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? Like
Mm-mm.
8 first party games, one of them was Dragon Drive, one of them was Welcome Tour, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot to criticize, especially on the money side and the price of a lot of these things, even dating back before the Switch 2, going all the way back to January with
Yeah,
Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. It is a crime that they charged full price for that game. That is the third re-release or second re-release, but third release of the
third
game.
release, yeah.
And the third release has less content than the second one did, but cost more than either did. Like, and I get that's just where we're at, but that's not okay.
Yeah, I would agree. So we're going to transition over to the awards and like really start celebrating this year a little bit. But before we jump into that, just a reminder, you're listening to the All Things Nintendo podcast. This show arrives in your podcast feeds completely free each and every Friday, brought to you by the fine folks who support me on Patreon. Without them, this show simply would not exist. You can join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month. That gets you access to the community Discord, which lets you hang with fellow listeners of the show. But there's also $5 and $10 tiers to get you early and ad-free episodes, plus shout-outs at the end of every show. Just go to patreon.com and search All Things Nintendo. It's only because of the wonderful folks who support this show that it is able to continue each and every week. Tim, I said we were going to jump into some positivity, but before we do that, I've been critical of the Game Awards for kind of looking the other direction for like some of the hardships that the industry has faced over the past several years. And I did want to touch on that just a little bit because unfortunately we did continue to see layoffs and studio closures throughout 2025. This year, I think most notably Square Enix, Microsoft, and EA had some pretty big layoffs that were pretty impactful. I know people at all of those companies who are no longer there because of these collections of layoffs.
Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, the list goes on.
Yeah, I know several studios are kind of in like closure watch right now, or like they've put their entire staff on redundancy notice, which is just harrowing, especially around the holidays. And then on top of that, EA was acquired by an investment group that was led by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which certainly raises a lot of red flags. There's all this drama going on with Warner Brothers right now, which by the time this episode airs could be completely different than it is right now as we're recording this.
But either way, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, either way.
It's not going to be good news.
It's the harbinger of something terrible that's probably going to impact people who have no say in any of this stuff, which is just awful. Also, tactile bad things like cancellations for big games that were on the way, like an unannounced live service God of War game, the announced Wonder Woman game. There was a Titanfall extraction shooter that was canceled, the Black Panther game, Perfect Dark, Contraband, Everwild. The list goes on. It was these are just like the highlights of the games that were canceled in 2025 due to these closures and consolidations and restructurings and acquisitions. I will say, though, I was looking at the numbers to kind of spin this in a more positive direction. It does seem like things slowed down ever so slightly in the realm of layoffs and closures. If you just look at the numbers, because the number of layoffs in the industry in 2025, at least the first 3 quarters of 2025, because I don't think they haven't finalized the numbers of total in 2025. Those 3 quarters only add up to slightly more than Q1 2024 alone. However, those numbers were boosted by those massive layoffs that I already mentioned, most of which was Microsoft, but EA and Square Enix also had quite a huge list of layoffs. And then also you have to take into account, the job market is incredibly difficult right now, and it's already flooded with people who are already looking for jobs that were previously laid off in 2022, 2023, and 2024. Just keeps snowballing and getting bigger and bigger, the pool of candidates, which makes it harder for everybody. And, I usually am quick to point out, corporate greed, overinvestment during COVID, putting shareholder whims over kind of, sustainable long-term growth and vision, mismanagement, AI, like overinvestment in AI when, it's all kind of, we're chasing a promise that has not yet been fulfilled, which it may never be fulfilled, but we're putting all of our eggs in that basket when you're certain companies like Microsoft, it seems. But I will say, with the way the economy has been just across the board in 2025, and not to mention so many of these developers and publishers being directly impacted by the Trump administration tariffs and how pretty much every other industry has looked in 2025, I don't know if for the first time in many years, if the games industry was substantially worse than everybody else in the field. Which is not exactly a high watermark to hang our hat on. But,
I don't know that I would agree with that. Mainly because maybe just simply in terms of layoffs, but it's like when we start talking about the mergers and acquisitions, and what I think this year it's the writings on the wall where it's like, let's wait till next year when it is a repeat of last year. Not that this year already wasn't to some extent. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty bad. Feeling pretty bad. Now, for me to try to spin it in a positive way, I do think that this year has the most highlights that go completely against that when you look at things like Hollow Knight Silksong and Hades 2, to an extent, Expedition 33. We're seeing people take control into their own hands of how games are going to come out, how they're going to be priced. And we're seeing a lot of amazing situations there with the commitment to, we are staying this small team. We're not going to balloon to a point that we need to worry about layoffs and all that. And hey, all that's, best laid plans. But I do think that this year, Blueprint's another great example. Like, there are so many games from smaller teams that are not. Peak is another great example. Small teams that are finding critical community and sales success, and that's awesome. But when the big guys are all falling apart, that is terrifying. We need a system that allows people to be supporting things. Xbox keeps making decisions that are putting themselves in worse and worse and worse positions, and man, it's scary, because if Xbox is gone, the games industry is worse off. There are less places to play games and buy games, and less people pushing and putting money into marketing games. It's a story for another time.
No, I agree with you 100% there. Definitely not trying to trivialize all the people who've lost their jobs. I'm just saying, like, whenever I go to a friend gathering, and it's not in the games industry these days, I feel like it's a different person coming up to me in a different industry every single time, whether it's healthcare or IT or tech or, you name it. And they're like, oh yeah, we had layoffs at my company like last week. Here in Minneapolis, we have more Fortune 500 companies than any other major metropolitan area in the US. And, Target being one of the biggest ones. And of course, there are extenuating circumstances with that, but they just had huge rounds of layoffs. And, I know some people who work in the healthcare field. It's like, yeah, my entire team was just told that we're at risk for layoffs. And it's like, this is impacting a lot of people, not just in the games industry. And on top of that, the government's kind of withholding unemployment numbers, which makes it like, oh, how bad are those numbers right now?
Very bad. It's very bad.
Yeah, it's harrowing.
Yes.
But yeah, just wanted to touch on that because like I said, I've been critical of other award shows such as the Game Awards that don't even try to address it, even though many of the people who are often to blame for those problems are right in that room with him while he's doing that presentation. And I think even just a tacit acknowledgement of like, hey, things are bad. So many people who have the capability to, make things even a little bit better, if not completely fix it, are in the room tonight. And I would call upon people who do have that power to work to, improve the situation, because if people keep leaving this industry en masse the way that they have been because they can't find work or they lost their job and they just don't have it in them to go through another round of layoffs like a year or two later, which I've been there. I considered when Game Informer closed down, I was like, is this just the end of my time in games media? And thankfully that ended up not being the case because I absolutely love what I do. But like, I think that there has to be a call to action for some of these people who are in charge and do have some control of the destiny of these studios, because people are going to eventually just get tired of it. And like, nobody's going to, like, new talent is not going to come into the industry to replace the talent that we lose, because like there's no stability over the last several years, and we need that stability to attract the talent, and we need the talent to make the games.
And to that point, I do agree with everything you just said. I just want to add, 2 years ago, Baldur's Gate 3 won at the Game Awards, and in their speech, they addressed this to an extent. Last year, Astrobot wins. They addressed this to an extent. This year, it's probably going to be Expedition 33, and I have a feeling they'll have something to say. So,
well, people listening to this episode will know because this is coming out after the Game Awards.
This is Jason Momoa, and I'll be your finance professor today. Welcome to Banking Smarter 101 with Chime. Bam! First lesson, sign up for Chime and set up direct deposit. You'll be joining millions of members banking fee-free. Second lesson, get cash back on eligible purchases while building credit and a higher APY on your savings. That's how you bank smarter this season. Fa-la-la-la-la, class dismissed. Join Chime today.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and a secure Chime Visa credit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. Details at chime.com/fees-info. With a qualifying direct deposit, earn 1.5% cash back on eligible secure Chime Visa credit card purchases. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. APY means annual percentage yield. Learn about credit building and more at chime.com.
But let's pivot to celebrating things rather than being, on a down note here. So we talked about the Switch's 2017, where we got Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, God, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Mhm.
You know, we talked about not comparing the Switch 2 first year to the Switch 1, but like I think that like the thing that I most notice when you compare the Switch 2 first year to the Switch 1 was Nintendo was almost giving they were giving lip service to these long dormant franchises, right? It's hard to see Mario Kart as a long dormant franchise, but it was the first Mario Kart game in 11 years. We got our first Donkey Kong 3D platformer in 26 years. We got our first Metroid Prime game in 18 plus years, and a full 8 plus years after it was announced to boot. So look at the stuff we have coming out in 2026. We have a new Yoshi game, which it's been a while since we've gotten a Yoshi game. New Rhythm Heaven, new Tomodachi Life, and it's like I think that Kirby Air Riders. Yeah, who saw that coming? Like
Nobody.
I guess if we count like Yoshi, because the last Yoshi game was Crafted World, which was pre-pandemic.
2018.
The last Mario Tennis game, which we have a Mario Tennis game coming early next year. The last entry of that was also pre-pandemic, 2018.
Mhm.
Like obviously some of these names are huge. I mean, we got, a handful of things like Pokemon, which, that always helps having the biggest entertainment franchise on the planet coming to your system exclusively. But like, I really did think that like the Switch 2's first year was very, very good. But where are these heavy hitting new console mainstays?
Well, I mean, I think you're wild to not say that Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Metroid Prime 4 aren't, and Pokemon Legends ZA aren't main console mainstays. Like, that's, again, maybe not the best entries in their respective franchises, but, like, I mean, wow. Like, those are, again, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Game of the Year contender,
Mhm.
right? Like, so it's just, I feel like we often fall into if it's not Mario or Smash Brothers or Zelda, then it's less than. And it's like, well, that's simply not true. And if it's not a 10 out of 10, then it's not worth playing. And it's like, that's also not true. Like if it's not the best, then it's nothing. And so, yeah, I look at this year and I'm kind of like, all right, cool. Like it's not the best, but like, I also think that argument is silly to an extent where like, let's look at any console of all time. I would say that the best first year consoles ever had was the Switch 1. But
Mhm.
that's because of Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. And that's because they did the thing and they gave us 2 out of 3 of the heaviest hitters, right? But yeah, I think that there's also a thing of when the Switch came out, so few people played the games on the Wii U. So the first year of the Wii U felt like Christmas because they were getting amazing games. I am the hugest defender of the Wii U's library of games. Not the
Yeah.
hardware, but the games are amazing. And I played them all. But then everyone got to play Tropical Freeze for the first time and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the first time. And like all these things, and they felt like brand new experiences. But I think that that's happening now. But people are upset with the Switch 2 editions because they have now just played all those things on the Switch 1. And they're like, I don't want to play it again. I'm the type of Nintendo gamer, that I'm like, I am ready to pop back into Kirby and the Forgotten World for a 3-hour expansion to that game because I loved that game and I want to go back, right? It's been way too long since Galaxy 2. I'm so happy I got to play that again. So I think that like dollars to donuts, it's like, I said this earlier, but like if you take away the Breath of the Wild and Odyssey, I think the Switch 2's first year easily beats Switch 1's. And if you add those two, well, then it didn't stand a chance because we're talking about the best games of all time.
Well, that's like saying, if you take away Jordan and Pippen, the Bulls weren't that great in 95.
But but that's the thing is like, I understand, but Metroid Prime and Mario Kart World, and like Mario Kart World I'll put on the lesser side, but Metroid Prime 4, I love. It's not without its faults, but it's my second favorite Metroid Prime. Yeah. And then Donkey Kong Bonanza is amazing. So it's like, is Donkey Kong Bonanza better than Odyssey? I don't think a majority of people would say that. Is Metroid Prime 4 better than Breath of the Wild? Nobody would say that. But like, that's cheating because we're talking about the GOATs. But when you look and you start comparing all the other things, I don't know. Personally, I gave it to Switch 2. But this also is a conversation that doesn't matter because they were both great.
Yeah, and I am not trying to trash talk the Switch 2 like first year, because as you will hear as we go through this, I am quite high on the Switch 2 and its first year. I'm just talking like in terms of pure like S tier Nintendo franchises. I would say the only one that you could even argue was Mario Kart, right? Was like an S tier franchise. I guess Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like the tiering the Nintendo franchises. It always just gets complicated because what are we talking about? Are we talking about quality from a Nintendo gamer point of view? Because then it's Metroid, but it's not Metroid because nobody plays Metroid,
which is crazy. You would think like a first-person shooter, recognizable character from like even if you only know her from Smash Brothers, it's wild to me how Nintendo can't figure out how to market Metroid to like a wider audience.
They don't want it. I mean, that's the thing is it's like it's not a first person shooter. It's a first person adventure game. And that's fair. Like that's the thing is it's like, and then when you add more Halo-esque elements to it, which it always kind of had, then the Metroid fans get mad. It's there's no winning there except to just make the thing. And I love that they made the thing. I loved it. But yeah, it is the S tier conversation. Like we got a Pokemon Legends ZA people are really into. I'm not as into it as the last couple entries, but yeah, man, it's a funny thing where I would say that I had a 9 out of 10 year with the Switch 2, despite it being filled with a lot of 7.5s. But
that's very fair.
But that's the thing is like my experience was so amazing, even though the games overall were just really good. But there was so many really good games consistently that I was playing that I'm like, I'm really having a blast. And that's not talking about the peaks that I had with Mario Kart or with Donkey Kong Bonanza and Metroid Prime.
Very fair. I think I'm right there with you. So without any further ado, Tim, let's actually talk about these category awards. Just to clarify, if a game came out in a previous year, but it arrived on either Switch or Switch 2 in 2025, it qualifies.
Okay.
Here's how it's going to work. So I'm going to list off the nominees for each category, but unlike previous years, I would just say like, this is the winner. And then my guest and I would talk about it and, talk about why it was such a good game or why it deserved to win. Unlike previous years, Tim, you and I are going to break down the category before we collectively arrive on a winner here.
I love it. Let's do it.
I think it's going to make for a more collaborative experience, more varied conversation instead of just me picking the winner and that's all we talk about. So we'll try it out this year, see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out, which I don't think it's not going to work out, but we'll see how we like it.
Let's do it.
All right. So let's start off with our first category. And this is one that it's either feast or famine, I feel like, depending on the year. This year, I would say it's a little bit closer to feast. And that is best strategy or simulation. So nominees I have here are Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles, Power Wash Simulator 2, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, and 2 Point Museum. So, Tim, which of those are you drawn to immediately?
I mean, I think it's Final Fantasy. I don't want to say that just because it is a remake and, like I don't want to give as much love to that. I'd rather give it to something new like Tactical Takedown, the Turtles game. I am a huge fan of that team, and I thought they made something really special with that game. I don't know that it really is award winning though. Like I feel like I wouldn't give that a best of. 2 Point is something that I didn't play, but I know
it's amazing. It is. Yeah. I mean, I tried 2 Point Campus and 2 Point Hospital, and I was like, yeah, that's fun. 2 Point Museum, they leveled up. Like it is, I think, the best simulation game of the year. And I think it's pretty easy. However, it's hard to beat Final Fantasy Tactics finally being available. And like we're lumping in simulation and strategy into the same genre, which I don't even know if that makes sense. I know other places do it.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of did it. But like, Final Fantasy Tactics, I have not played this version of it, but I mean, it's an all-time great game. And it's hard not to want to give this award to that. So, I mean, do you have any objections to us handing it over to Final Fantasy?
I do not. I played about 5 hours of it. I love Final Fantasy Tactics, the original. 5 hours into this, the VO adds so much. I'm not the biggest fan of the updated art style, but that's a personal thing. But I'm with you. Let's give it to Final Fantasy.
All right. So Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, gets the first All Things Nintendo 2025 award. Now we're moving on to one of the heavy hitting categories here, Tim. Best action game.
Oh man, I
So
have my
here,
answer.
here are the nominees. You may say that, but like this is a stacked division. Hades 2, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Marvel Cosmic Invasion, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Shinobi Art of Vengeance are the 5 nominees.
A distinct lack of Hollow Knight Silksong.
That might be in another category.
Yes, and I kind of like that because it's Hades 2 with a bullet as far as I'm concerned. I love most of the games you mentioned there. I think Shinobi Art of Vengeance is a absolute pleasure to play. Donkey Kong Bonanza, I wouldn't give that the props for action necessarily. And Hades 2 to me is just an all-time, it's a 10 out of 10 perfect experience that like I could play that game literally forever. That is an island game for me of just let me go, let's have some fun. And a lot of that comes back to the action gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, every single game in this category is phenomenal, right? Like Metroid Prime 4, I think it's going to win some awards later on, but it's hard to top Hades 2. Shinobi Art of Vengeance, I think that's a top 3 game of the year for me. Like, I love Shinobi Art of Vengeance. Marvel Cosmic Invasion is like a dream come true game for me as a diehard Marvel fan. I love the old beat 'em ups. I love tribute games. I love TMNT Shredder's Revenge. This is like the exact thing I wanted from them like after that game. And Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, I think that's maybe the weakest link in this category, but it's still a very fun game. I'm not the biggest Musu guy, but overall, it's a very fun experience. But yeah, I think we've got to give it to Hades 2.
I think so. And I also, like you said, dream game for me, Marvel Cosmic Invasion. And I really, really love that game. I think at the end of the day, I was a little let down by it in comparison to Shredder's Revenge. I think that the implementation of the Marvel 90s fighting game style with a beat 'em up was excellent. But I think that the longer you go in that game, it starts to give up on new ideas. And I was pretty let down by the last couple levels. Whereas with Shredder's Revenge, I think that game just ratcheted up with its creativity and what they were giving us. Still love it. Highly recommend playing it. But I think if we're giving awards, it's Hades 2. With a shout out to Shinobi.
Absolutely. Shinobi Art of Vengeance, just an incredible experience that I think everybody who's an action gamer should check out. But Hades 2 takes it home. And on to the next category, Tim. We are at Best RPG. And another pretty stacked category here. So we've got Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, Octopath Traveler 0, Persona 3 Reload, Pokemon Legends ZA, and Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition.
This is so funny and it's very interesting because since this is Nintendo exclusive, it's missing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Expedition 33, right? So it's like, it's a very different conversation. I'm going to be honest, I don't think that this is one I am overly qualified to talk about based on the submissions here.
So I've played 3 out of the 5 all the way to credits. Cyberpunk 2077, Persona 3 Reload, and Pokemon Legends ZA are the 3 of this category that I've played to credits. I admittedly have not ever really been a Xenoblade fan. I've tried a couple of the games and I've kind of bounced off it, but I've been told they're phenomenal and I trust everybody who tells me that. And I would like to really have the chance to devote time to it. And I unfortunately have not had a chance to boot up Octopath Traveler 0, but I do know it is a quality experience.
Greg Miller's game of the year so far.
Wow, that is. I'm glad it's nominated. It's not going to win based on the panel here. I kind of want to lean Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition just because that is a marvel of a technical achievement, that it runs as well and looks as good as it does on the Switch 2.
I agree with you. I feel like, again, like these being games that I just wouldn't give to Cyberpunk because I played that game years ago, right? Yeah. So it's a little different to me. But I will say, like Pokemon Legends ZA, I feel like I keep saying this. I really loved my time with it, but critically, I don't think it's that great of a game. I gave that one a 7.5, and
Yeah, I give it an 8.
I was really hoping it would be at least an 8 for me, but it wasn't. So there's a lot about that game that is great, but don't want to really give it an award for best RPG. And to your point about Cyberpunk being on a Nintendo console, portable and running as well as it does, and being the fixed Cyberpunk experience, not the 2020 Cyberpunk experience, let's give it to Cyberpunk.
Let's do it. All right, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. Comes with the what is the expansion? Phantom
Liberty.
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
Yes.
I almost said Phantom Pain. Then I almost said Phantom
Pain,
Blade.
Sons of Liberty. 2 Metal Gear games combined. Phantom Liberty.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
All right, so we're moving on to another stacked category, Tim. Best platforming game. This is a category
it's too hard.
that I think Nintendo almost always has representation in this, and this year's no different. So best platforming game nominees are Donkey Kong Bonanza, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, Hollow Knight Silksong, Little Nightmares 3, and Pac-Man World 2 Repack. I think there's only 2 choices in this one.
Yeah, I agree. Shouts to Pac-Man just for the nostalgia and all that, but we ain't giving that the award.
But man, are those top 2 entries, Donkey Kong Bonanza and Hollow Knight Silksong? I think we're in agreement that those are the 2 to choose from here.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. I struggle with this because Hollow Knight Silksong to me, I don't think of as an action game and I don't think of as a platforming game, even though it very much is both of those things. That's what it is. If there was a Metroidvania category, that would kind of change things for me. Donkey Kong is clearly it's a platformer, but I also don't necessarily think it's that platforming is its strongest aspect. But maybe I'm wrong about that because some of my favorite parts of that game are the 2D nostalgia levels and the 3D challenge levels. So because there's no Metroidvania category, I would lean Hollow Knight Silksong on this one. It is an expertly designed platforming game. So much of the challenges are platforming based and getting around the map. And that is just as fun as the action, which is incredible.
I'm leaning the other way. I'm actually leaning Donkey Kong.
Okay.
I think Donkey Kong Bonanza it's not as good as Mario Odyssey, which is fine because Mario Odyssey is arguably the best 3D Mario game ever released. And if it's not your favorite favorite 3D Mario game released, it's probably in the top 2 or 3. Donkey Kong Bonanza was a very, very good platformer that had some incredible mechanics that really elevated it beyond anything that other games could possibly do. The fact that you could destroy everything basically in that game is unbelievable. And I've had fun just wrecking shop in some of those environments and digging through and finding the Bonandium gem or the fossils or whatever. That type of stuff is just that sense of discovery was incredible when I was playing it. It helped me get to Japan earlier this year, seemingly a lot faster. It was the same speed, but it felt a lot faster because I was just going through one of the environments and just trying to find all the fossils, and you get hyper fixated on that. And it's so much of a time travel device when you do that.
That's so funny because for me, that exact experience was me going to Paris to see you playing Hollow Knight Silksong.
I'm
not going to argue you. I'm not going to argue. I feel like I love both so much. I think both are incredible platformers that do things differently. And I could argue and fight for Hollow Knight Silksong because I truly believe that it's worth winning. But I could also fight for Donkey Kong Bonanza. Just to me, I think the platforming, for me, the adventuring of Donkey Kong Bonanza is what I would give it the most props for. But yeah, man, I'm not mad at Donkey Kong. Not at all.
Let's give it to Hollow Knight. I think that's a game that people have been waiting so long for.
And it delivered.
It delivered. Exactly. So I'm fine giving it to Hollow Knight. I think both of those games, like, they were neck and neck. It was not even a competition for who was going to be in third, really, right? Like, it was like this game, and then the field. Like,
yeah.
And
I mean, you know the categories coming up. I don't. So if you think that Hollow Knight belongs here over Donkey Kong, I'll trust you. But
it's tough, man. But
right.
Let's keep going. Best fighting game. This one was a little bit of a weaker year, but there are some options here since we're focused squarely on the Switch and Switch 2. The category includes Capcom Fighting Collection 2, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, and Street Fighter 6.
Oh my God, what a... I don't blame you, but maybe I do to an extent. But it's like the Game Awards having Capcom Fighting Collection and Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection on the best like fighting, and get out of here. Legacy had so many problems, and Capcom Collection is literally just a port. No. It's Street Fighter 6, I think, by default here.
Look, I think I scored Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection higher than I think the community would, and that's just because I love that documentary. I love the offline play of the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. I think that it feels great when you're just playing against the computer. I love all of the different like settings that you can adjust. I feel like, oh my God, Mortal Kombat 2 is the cheapest arcade game of all time. Like, they will cheese the crap out of you and corner you, and you can turn down the difficulty if you think that sucks, and you can have a good time, and there's like fatality tutorials and everything. That would be my number 2 on this. Although, shout out to Capcom Fighting Collection 2 for including Power Stone and Power Stone 2.
Yeah, look, to be clear, I ain't talking about the collection. I love Power Stone. I love those games. I just feel like we shouldn't be handing out awards to them dropping ROMs on a on a paid download and calling it a day. You know what I mean?
Agreed. But yeah, shout out to Digital Eclipse. I always give them their props for the incredible work they do in these documentaries and the compilations and finding all of these artifacts that you thought you were never going to see again. And like, how many times did I scroll through that thing where they're showing the artifacts? And I'm like, I remember the exact moment I saw this ad in a magazine, and it brought me right. It was so cool. They do an incredible job. But it's Street Fighter 6. I think that is just an unbelievable game. They brought a fantastic version to Switch 2, and I'm so happy that Street Fighter is back on Nintendo. Like, I fell in love with Street Fighter in the arcades, but also on my Super Nintendo playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and it's so cool to have it back on there. You know, I got it on Steam Deck because I wanted a portable version of this game. Now I don't have to bring my giant Steam Deck everywhere because I can have it on my Switch 2, and that is amazing to me. So Street Fighter 6 takes home the award for best fighting game in 2025 on
with
Nintendo platforms. With Amiibo, yeah.
Pretty cool.
So I think that when most people hear the name of this next award, they're going to be like, oh, this is a weak category. But in 2025, that is absolutely not the case. There's one in here that I think you're going to chuckle at, but everything else is all killer, no filler. Best racing game.
Yeah.
So the nominees here: Fast Fusion, Garfield Kart 2, All You Can Drift, Kirby Air Riders, Mario Kart World, and Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. That's a very strong year for the racing genre.
It is. It definitely is. I think I might have a potentially hot take here.
Ooh.
We'll see. But I firmly, having played all 4 of these games extensively, my answer is Mario Kart World.
Really?
It is not the best Mario Kart, but, and it also, I think, more than that, $80 price tag is heinous for what this game is. And I think the second thing is the biggest letdown is they got our hopes up for it being a Forza Horizon type game, and it wasn't. The open world was a letdown. But if I don't look at that stuff, what's not there, but I look at what is there, I think it is the greatest collection of brand new Grand Prix we've ever had in a Mario Kart. I think the way that they present that experience is of a higher quality. I think the soundtrack is undeniably, in my opinion, the greatest video game soundtrack ever. And that's not just because they took a bunch of old songs and brought them back. I'm talking even about the new songs, the hundreds of new songs in Mario Kart World. In addition to, yes, songs from pretty much every Mario game in history performed with live instruments in styles across every genre. There is so much polish and love in that game. Some of the mechanics aren't my favorite, but hey, guess what? I didn't love anti-gravity in 8 either. I didn't love a lot of the things in the other games, and I think that there's there's an over emphasis on the bad parts or what's not there for Mario Kart World. But to me, one of my highlights of gaming this year was Rainbow Road. The
Oh my
Rainbow
God.
Road experience in Mario Kart World and
It's
the
the
build
best.
up to it, it's so damn good. So yeah, is this I gave Mario Kart World an 8 out of 10. So I don't want to overglaze it or anything, but I'm just saying, like, compared to these other games, I think it's the best. What do you think?
So I'm leaning Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. I think that's the only one that competes with it. Kirby Air Riders is really fun, but I don't think it's on the same level as Mario Kart World and Sonic Racing. Haven't played Garfield Kart. That was just kind of an inclusion to round out the category. And Fast Fusion, surprisingly
Category.
fun. What was that?
I said category.
Cat.
We played a lot of Garfield here, by the way.
Did you? Okay.
So we
Did you play Fast
did,
Fusion?
Yeah. Actually, Fast Fusion is the one I played the least. I touched it. I'm very picky about my futuristic fast racing games. I am way more an F-Zero guy than a Wipeout guy, and
Got
the Fast Fusion always feels more like Wipeout.
That's fair. I like Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. I think that the game feels more focused, right? Like it's not the big open world. The feature set feels a lot less than Mario Kart World, but I do think that like the gimmick is top tier. I think it's one of the best gimmicks in a kart racer ever. The level like changing midway through, and then you go somewhere else and play a different track. The customization is great. I could do without the crossover stuff, but I guess it's right there in the name. They kind of want to have like, hey, SpongeBob and the Ninja Turtles and Joker from Persona 5 is here and like all that stuff. Like I'll probably just always play as Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, or like Metal Sonic or Shadow or something. But like, I think that it has an incredible roster. It has great tracks. It has fantastic mechanics, a better gimmick than Mario Kart World. But that said, Mario Kart World is also very good. Not as good as 8 Deluxe as we've touched on, but I think that it is the best Mario Kart game in a long time outside of 8. If we want to like do the whole like, hey, we're going to disqualify the best one, I think that, you know, it's better than Wii. It's probably, oh man, it's sacrilege to call it better than Double Dash, but I would say it's better than all the 3DS and DS entries.
I mean, look, for me, it's easy. Like for me, it's not even a question. And I am a Mario Kart sicko. Like
So am I.
I put dozens of hours at least into each of these. Like I am at over 100 in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's not even counting my Mario Kart 8 time. And Mario Kart World, I think I'm already at like 50. Like I am very, very satiated and happy with all of this stuff. And I think that Mario Kart World easily is better than any of the previous Mario Kart games. Like, and I even think that there's a debate of Mario Kart World versus just Mario Kart 8. Like, I don't think that it's as clear cut of a 8 wins. When you talk about 8 Deluxe with everything that it has,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, cool. Well, that's, yeah, okay, for sure.
Yeah, 8 Deluxe is the, I think, undisputed GOAT of Mario Kart. But
Of
if you look
kart
just at
racing.
8 on Wii U, like the Wii U version, base version of 8,
Mhm.
I think there is a conversation to be had with Mario Kart
too.
World for sure.
Me too. And
Um,
I think Mario Kart 8, in my opinion, would be number 2. And I base so much of this based on the Grand Prix and the quality of the Grand Prix, and that the focus and lack of focus, like you're talking about, of the open world is solved in the Grand Prix because those are designed for you to have this experience. So even when you're on the boring open space, it's not boring in the Grand Prix because you're in the safari now, and it's the only place you see these elephants and giraffes walk by. And the way that the music dynamically shifts and change as you go up to the Peach's Castle actual course, and there's this whole intro track musically that goes into the song. It's like that only happens there, and there's just so much dynamic moments that are built into the experience that, like, I think just people overlook, and that's fine. I really value that stuff, but it also just doesn't bother me as much for like all the problems with online play and the choosing the courses and stuff, because I don't do that.
So the way that I'm laying this out here, Mario Kart World, I think the best parts of Mario Kart World are the soundtrack, Knockout Tour. Knockout Tour is a blast.
Amazing.
and Rainbow Road. I think those are the three best parts of Mario Kart World.
I'd
I
go
was
further though and say Grand Prix, like the core game that is being offered there. Like that is to me the highlight. Ending in Rainbow Road, like that's such a great reward for everything building up to it. But
yeah.
Keep going.
And then I would say for Sonic Racing, it's kind of like the cross-world gimmick is super fun. The customization, if you're into it, it's incredible. It's not as good as Kirby Air Riders, but it's very good. And I think just the racing mechanics I like a little bit more in Sonic Racing than I do Mario Kart World. I think that some of the stuff, like I was not a fan of like the grinding and the wall riding and stuff like that. But overall, they're both very good games, and I could live with us giving it to Mario Kart World. I'm not.
Yeah, this is a funny one for me because Kirby Air Riders is way more of like a vehicle action game than it is. It's like 1/3 a racing game. So I don't even think that is up there here. The other ones are kind of good here and there, but yeah, it is between the two. In my mind, there's just simply no debate because I understand the quality and I love Sonic. I want this clear. Like, this about me. I love Sonic games. I love Sonic racing games, but I do think that there's just a level of polish and like game feel to Kart that it's a personal preference thing. I could never give it to Cross Worlds. I know this is the year that people can make the argument for it. But I will say I want to abstain from this because this is your show and I don't want to get in the way of Sonic Crossworlds because I support Crossworlds getting the support that it has. I give it a 7 out of 10 playing it extensively, but other people disagree. And if there's ever going to be a year that Sonic beats Mario in the kart racing thing, it's this, and let's give him some flowers.
All right, let's go with Sonic Racing Cross Worlds then. Mario Kart World, though, extremely honorable mention in that because, this is another category where it's like neck and neck and then the rest of the field. So that takes home the award for Best Racing Game. We got a big one here, Tim. Best Indie Game.
Oh my God.
Two extremely heavy hitters that have already taken home awards, but joining them. So we got 3 other games joining them in this category. So nominees are Ball X Pit, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Morsels, and UFO 50.
Oh my God. Was UFO 50 this year?
On Switch, it was.
Oh, okay. That
came out last year on PC.
Steam. Yeah. Because I was like, what? I firmly believe in my heart that this has to go to Hollow Knight Silksong.
Really?
I could debate that Hades 2 is a better game, but I think it being an early access last year takes away from that a bit for me of like giving it to game this year.
However, it wasn't on Switch in early access.
Okay, I guess that is true, and it is a console exclusive, so that's a little bit more edge to that. But what they pulled off with Silksong is nothing less of incredible, and it being priced the way that it is, every aspect of that game being as high quality as it is, it's so damn special. I personally wish the runbacks were a lot less. I wish that there were more options to tone down some of the stuff that, like, despite developer intent, I think lessen the game. But yeah,
I'm leaning Hades just because it's one of the best games of the year, pretty easily, and I think that anybody who's played it would acknowledge that. Ball X Pit, shout out to that. I don't think it's in the running for this, but that's one of my favorite indie games of the year. Morsels and UFO 50 are also great. I'm leaning Hades, and for all the reasons we've mentioned when it won Best Action Game. I think that it is one of the best action games we've gotten in several years, let alone just being an incredible game in its own right. And I think it would beat a lot of AAA games, let alone indie games. Not that there necessarily has to be like a tier there and one is better than the other. If anything, we've seen indie games have been better in 2025 than a lot of AAA games. Man, but yeah, it is tough. Those are two of the most anticipated, most beloved indie games of the last several years.
I honestly think that both Silksong and Hades 2 are in my top 20 favorite games of all time. Maybe 15 games of all time, both of them. So I'm coming at this with a lot of love. I will say we give the edge to Hades 2 specifically because I think Hades 2 is for more people. I don't
Okay.
think that Silksong's for everybody. I do think Hades 2 is for majority of gamers out there.
Then let's do it. That's what I was wanting. So, if you're okay with that, I think we
100%.
come.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right. And naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about anything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys. Tito's is known for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
To that consensus. Oh boy. Best multiplayer is next. So we have Kirby Air Riders, Lego Party, Mario Kart World, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, and Split Fiction.
I got a lot of thoughts here.
Okay. let's
Kirby
hear
Air
'em.
Riders is chaotic fun, great multiplayer. City Trial is a blast. If you're into it, you are into it. Mario Kart World, I actually think falls off pretty dramatically here when you start talking about the multiplayer suite of the game. I do not think that is its strong suit at this point in time. Let's talk in 10 years when we get all the DLC and see what it's at and all the fixes and stuff. But right now, I wouldn't say that. I am not that high on Sonic Racing Cross World, so I feel the same way there. And then we get to where we're at.
Lego Party and Split Fiction.
Lego Party, I want to give the biggest shout out to. I've rarely been more wrong about a video game because when they announced that, I was like, this is just going to be garbage. And it is so good. If you haven't played it, pick it up, give it a shot, play it with some friends. You will be surprised at how refreshing an experience it is if you've played a bunch of Mario parties. And I'm not throwing shade at Mario parties. There's just something about this that it's all the good memories you have of playing party games with your friends, but it's real now. It's because I feel like a lot of times we play the new Mario parties, and as good as they are, it's like it just doesn't hit the same. Lego Party hits that way.
Wow.
But my answer is Split Fiction.
Yeah, I have not played Split Fiction, but I've heard nothing but incredible things about it. And, it has to be multiplayer. It's not even like a single player option, right? Like there's like no way to play this single player.
Yeah,
So
runs great on the Switch too. I think that it being multiplayer name of the game is so special. I love Haze Light. I love games that are designed this way, and these are so special. I don't think this hits the highs of It Takes Two overall. But very big fan of Split Fiction. It is in my top 10 games of this year, but I think it is a great multiplayer game, and it would be my pick.
I do want to shout out one. I mean, we already shouted it out about Mario Kart World, but Knockout Tour is just unbelievable. But everything else in the multiplayer suite is a little bit lackluster, and hopefully they do address that. I know there's a lot of outrage in the community about like the formats of the races. Like, do we want three lap races, or do we want like kind of like the more like point A to point B races? So there are some problems to be addressed there. Sonic Racing, the multiplayer suite is fine. It's cool that you can do like custom rule sets and everything. But, based on all of this stuff that you're saying and Split Fiction being the multiplayer game that it is, we've got to give it to that. So let's do that. All right. We're coming up on some of the final categories here. But before we get to the real heavy hitters, we got Best Compilation, baby.
Ooh-wee.
And we've
Love
got
that.
Capcom Fighting Collection 2, Gex Trilogy, Lunar Remastered Collection, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Early Days Collection.
I just want to say I'm so happy all of these exist. I think that it's very, very cool. You were saying this earlier about Digital Eclipse, and you're absolutely right. I double down on everything you're saying. Like the level of effort they put into chronicling and archiving all of the amazing history of these games is so damn special. My pick would be Capcom. I think that they've been really on a run with these fighting collections. They've been keeping me really happy. The games play great. All the online rollback netcode, all that stuff. They're just like really delivering everything that the fighting game fans would want with that in a fantastic presentation. So I think that Lunar's the one that I have no experience with at all. The Gex stuff I was pretty let down by, honestly, but also those games are just fine. Like those are blockbuster rentals from the 90s that you had your fun with for the weekend, but like I didn't love them. So yeah, I go Capcom.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of leaning. If Mortal Kombat did not have those online problems, I think it would be a sweep for Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection in this category, but because that part is so important to so many people, it's not the most important to me. For me, it's the documentary and the offline goodies.
Yep.
But that is, I mean, fighting games. If there's one genre you need to get things right online, it's either fighting or shooting, right? Like those are the two ones you need to really get the online working, and they did not do that. Capcom Fighting Collection 2, you've got Fighting Evolution, you've got not Rival Schools. What's the follow-up to that? God, I always forget. I always wanted to play Rival Schools when I was a kid, but I never had a console
so did I.
to play
I'm right there with you. That's so funny. Yeah, oh man, I'm blanking right now. But I mean, you brought it up earlier about Power Stone. Come on, like that's
Power
what we're
Stone
here
is the big one for me. Yeah. Let's give it to Capcom Fighting Collection 2, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, honorable mention. Hopefully they get their stuff together with online. Next up is Best Remake or Remaster. So we've got Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles, Plants vs. Zombies Replanted, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, and Yuka Replayly.
Wow.
Solid year overall. We didn't even mention
year.
Donkey Kong Country HD Returns or Returns HD. It's a good game at its base, but all the problems you mentioned before just kind of disqualified it for me.
Yeah, it's a very good game. I love the Donkey Kong Countries. I think that Donkey Kong Country Returns is probably definitely my second least favorite of them. But I think this HD collection didn't do it any favors necessarily. But I also, it's not on the list and it's debatable here, but I do want to give a shout out to the love given to Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 on the Switch too. Like playing those games in 4K with a lot of the updates that they made, it feels like Metroid Prime Remastered a couple years back. Wow. It's like there's a lot more done visually than you would have expected with the background textures and the skyboxes and stuff. And it feels, if you didn't know what was an old game, you wouldn't know visually playing that game on a 4K TV. But with this,
it's tough. This is a tough one, but I think I'm leaning Final Fantasy Tactics just because it is so good. Man, I love Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. I understand why people are frustrated by the format change for 4. I've not played Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. I did play 3 HD 2D Remake, and that was very good. Plants vs. Zombies Replanted. I'm just so freaking happy to have that on Switch finally because I love the OG PVZ. Yuka Replayly. Very meaningful changes to an otherwise pretty okay game back in the day, and they've made it a lot better.
Still lacking for me though. That's my problem. I was really hoping that Replayly was going to like turn that into a like conversation piece when it comes to 3D platformers, and it didn't. I think that the like best answer is Final Fantasy, but like my answer would be Tony Hawk. I love Tony Hawk more than anything. Tony Hawk 1 and 2 Remake is my second favorite game of all time. And I don't think that 3 and 4 Remake hits those highs but not for the reasons that I think a lot of people are mad of it because how much they didn't do 4's career mode. I really couldn't care less about that stuff. Like it being a 4 being a 3 map pack to me, I'm like, that's how I wanted this to go. But there was just something overall lacking about it compared to 1 and 2 to me. But I would vote for that.
Okay, so you're voting for Tony Hawk.
I'm voting for Tony Hawk personally.
Okay.
But I think that the best answer is Final Fantasy Tactics. I just feel like that's less fun.
We gave Final Fantasy I was ready to like just sign, seal, and deliver Final Fantasy Tactics for this category because it probably is objectively the best remake.
Yeah.
But for both of us, being giant Tony Hawk's Pro Skater fans, like I was raised on 1 through 4. I'm going to go Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4.
I love that, man, because we harp on all the negatives about that game a lot, but it's like, let's talk about the new levels, right? Water Park was awesome. The Backstage Hollywood level was great. Pinball was super cool and fun and felt like it had the Neversoft energy of Tony Hawk games. Like, I don't feel bad about giving it to it at all.
Let's do it. You know what? Let's go against the grain. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 gets Best Remake or Remaster. I think we got a couple fun ones here before we get to like the final awards. Best Switch 2 Update. So we've got 5 games that received a Switch 2 update, and we are going to choose a winner from this category. So Kirby and the Forgotten Land, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Sonic X Shadow Generations, and Super Mario Party Jamboree.
So definitely not that one.
Hey, I mean, they got new mini games. They got the TV mode or whatever with the camera.
Some of the new mini games, kind of fun. The TV camera stuff, fun and gimmicky for a second, but it has no staying power.
Agreed.
And that update didn't even update it to 4K. It didn't do any of the things you expected it to update. I think that Link's Awakening, despite not getting a proper, I guess Scarlet and Violet didn't either. Link's Awakening deserves a shout out because that game ran very poorly and now it runs great. I think that this is easily Kirby in the Forgotten Lands.
Really?
I think that it has new content. It's like when we're talking about some of these other things, it's just getting an upscale, and that stuff's amazing, running better and all that stuff. That's great. But like the new content added to Zelda was lazy. The new content added to Kirby was amazing, like awesome, as good as the core game. So yeah, I think that this to me is like the easiest category so far. What do you think?
So I was going to make an argument for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet just because it finally vindicates me from shouting from the rooftops, no, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is good actually. And everybody's like, you're an idiot. What are you talking about? And now people can actually get into it without that barrier of entry. But on the other side of that coin, you're right. Like it is just them finally making it play the way it should have when it came out a couple years ago, right? Like, or I guess, was it, 3 years ago, 4 years ago that came out?
Yeah. And by the way, I'm on your team. I was screaming from the rooftops, the Scarlet and Violet are freaking awesome. And everyone's telling me, you should like it. It doesn't run. And I'm like, well, I'm having a great time and I completed the Pokedex, so I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, it's like, and I guess that's the other thing too, is like, I guess I do still pop into Scarlet and Violet every once in a while for getting the like gift codes and all that stuff. But I mean, that update doesn't help me. You know what I mean? Like, I already played it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I'm fine with giving it to Kirby in the Forgotten Land because that is also an incredible game. And I talked myself out of it by saying like, this is how it should have run in the first place. Mm-hmm. I'm just happy it finally runs well. And it sounds like that's what you're feeling with like Link's Awakening and everything as well. And
oh yeah.
I haven't fired up Mario Odyssey yet on the Switch 2, but I've heard like it runs better as well.
Well, Mario Odyssey already ran at 60. So Mario Odyssey ran like a dream. Now it just it's sharper and looks better. Yeah. And it does. It definitely does. But yeah, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet definitely is like the biggest jump up. And I'd say Link's Awakening as well. But Kirby had new content, man.
Yeah. And shout out to Sonic X Shadow Generations because that game is amazing and it finally runs the way that it should on the Switch 2.
On Switch. Yeah, I played that on PS5, so I had a great time there. Yeah. Love that game.
All right, so we will give it to Kirby in the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed Worlds. I guess that's the full category or full title there. The game that should have been a free tutorial award.
Okay.
The nominees are Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. All right.
yeah. I mean, hey, debatably Dragon Drive if you want to talk about the mouse gimmick, but yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Yeah, Welcome Tour. Welcome Tour was a letdown, I think, from any way you want to look at it. I am a sucker for Nintendo history and Nintendo nerd stuff. So the idea of we're going to learn about the tech of this thing, that's so fascinating to me. I'm the type of kid that would buy my N64 and read every word on the box. You know what I mean? Open up your game manuals. And like, I love that stuff. But Welcome Tour, just even if you take away the fact that it cost money, which is insane, the game wasn't fun. And to get to any of the mini games that were even kind of interesting, you kind of just had to do a bunch of like reading and tests that could be interesting, but they just were presented in the least interesting way possible. It felt so sterile. It felt so non-Nintendo. Yeah, I'm pretty down on Welcome Tour.
Yeah. Dragon Drive was whatever, but Welcome Tour, I mean, I've talked about it on this show several times. Several of my guests have talked about it who were at the Switch 2 reveal event, and the room full of media professionals busting out laughing with Doug Bowser in the room when they said it will be available as a paid piece of software. That's going to stick with me for a while.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. The next award, the Better Late Than Never Award. And this is an award that is given to a game that previously came out on other platforms and finally made its way to Nintendo. The nominees are Cyberpunk 2077, Persona 3 Reload, Star Wars Outlaws, Street Fighter 6, and the surprise entrant, Super Mario Galaxy 2.
That's that.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's that. Hey, shout out to all these other games coming though, man. I think that's great. Like I will say that I'm very happy that Switch 2 has more third-party support than we've seen in a long time. Having said that, I'm actually incredibly let down by Nintendo's third-party support on the Switch 2, and that's Nintendo's fault, not having enough dev kits out there.
Yeah.
I said this earlier at the top of the show, but all the expectations going into the Switch 2 reveal, I thought we were going to get so much more of, hey, we're here and the games are happening and you should just expect that any big new game coming out is going to be on the Switch too. And they just weren't there. The fact that we don't have any of the Xbox games that they've been porting over to PS5 yet is wild to me. And there have been some examples. The fact that we're getting Resident Evil 9 day and date on the Switch 2 is awesome. I have so much faith it's going to run too. Like, I think they're going to pull it off. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, by all accounts, is awesome on the Switch 2. But then you have something like Elden Ring that so far sounds like at preview events is not running well. And it's not out yet. But to me, Elden Ring needed to be a day one launch game that ran great as a proof of, hey, hardcore gamers that play games on their console of choice and the third-party games, you can play them on Switch 2 and they're going to be great. They just haven't sold that. Having said that, 32 third-party games over an 80 on OpenCritic this year on the Switch 2. So
that's great.
That's great.
I mean, I guess Cyberpunk was kind of like accomplishing that. Cyberpunk and Street Fighter 6, I would say, are the big ones that like came at launch, ran really well, and showed like there is a place for hardcore gaming on Switch 2. But man, how many times were we like, why isn't Super Mario Galaxy 2 on the Switch? Why'd they bring Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy 1, but not Mario Galaxy 2? So this is a slam dunk, giving it to Super Mario Galaxy 2. Yes. One of the greatest 3D platforming games of all time. One of the best Mario games of all time. Finally playable, finally free from dead consoles. And it feels so good to have it on my Switch 2 home screen.
In 4K, dude. I love Mario Galaxy 2.
Same. I'm actually thinking of replaying it. I have some flights coming up, some very long flights. I'll be probably spending about 45 hours on planes over the next 3 weeks. And Mario Galaxy 2 is near the top of my list of games I want to play during that time.
You won't regret it, man. Replaying it for my first time in a long time. I'm like, wow, it's still a 10 to this day.
Absolutely. Next category, most wanted game to come to Switch in 2025. So these are games that are out on other platforms, but are nowhere to be seen on Nintendo's storefronts. The nominees here, Baldur's Gate 3, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Dispatch, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Yakuza Like a Dragon. So the first one with Ichiban Kasuga.
Amazing list there. I think all of these are obviously highly requested and deserve to be on Switch. And I think have a great audience on the Switch too. But Expedition 33 is my game of the year. And on top of that, I think that people that Switch owners like a certain type of game. And this is just percentages that we're talking about when we see sales. Nintendo games and also JRPGs, and they have been supported forever from Square Enix with the Octopath titles, with the numerous Square titles. I need to go down the list. You know what I'm talking about. Expedition 33 was made for Nintendo Switch gamers, so they got to get it on there, and it's going to hit very, very hard.
That's my choice as well. I think that is a game that is so well suited. You know, I was screaming from the rooftops, we need Persona on Switch, like for the longest time. And we finally got all the Persona games. We got, the Persona collection, 3, 4, and 5. Then we got Persona 3 Reload this year. That's why Metaphor is now on this list, because it replaces Persona. But Clair Obscur just borrows so much from these games that play so well on Switch. The Personas, the old school Final Fantasies like 10. Those
Yeah.
are so perfect for a Switch 2, like, handheld experience. But then there's Baldur's Gate 3, which, one of the greatest games of
Yep.
this century.
Mhm.
And it's still not on Switch 2. And I think that would also be perfect for this console. Hopefully we get some sort of announcement very soon for both of those games. It would be wild to not have those games come to Switch at some point. But I think we give it to Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
I think so too.
By the way, shout out to Dispatch. What a game.
Absolutely. I haven't played it yet, but everyone here's raving about it. Me and Gia are going to play it over the holiday break, and I can't wait because it looks awesome.
They get the superhero genre so much better than most Marvel or DC properties. And the mini game, like when it started with like the mini game, like the actual dispatching mini game, I was like, all right, is there like a setting that I can just turn this off and just like only do like the narrative sequences and like choosing like what I want to do in like the narrative? Can I just like skip or simulate the dispatch part? By the end of the story, I was like, I hope there's an endless mode that comes out about like the dispatch minigame. I would play a full-fledged game like this where you're developing your heroes, because as they go on missions, they're leveling up and you can choose like which attribute you want to level up of theirs. You get new heroes as you go through the story. I wish there was a whole thing built around that on top of this like big narrative, like point A to point B story. But yeah, it's got to be Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Like that would be the dream to have on Switch, and hopefully we get it soon. It feels like an inevitability.
Yeah, I honestly think, I mean, there's a chance. I mean, we're out of time here with Game Awards and stuff. There's a chance it's announced at Game Awards. I don't think so because of the dev kit conversation we had. I think that had that not been the case, I think it would probably be a lot sooner. On top of that, it is a small team, and they did not expect the success that they had. So to expect them to have a port on a new system so close to the release of the game itself is probably not something we should expect.
No, but hopefully soon. Like, I hope that Nintendo saw the success of Clair Obscur very early on, and we're like, hey, we got to prioritize these guys in getting them dev kits. And that would be the smart thing to do. But, Nintendo always marches to their own beat.
When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite, obey your thirst.
Tim, we're down to the final two categories. And they're big ones. Best third-party game. So, best third-party game that came to Switch in 2025. Nominees are Cyberpunk 2077, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, and Star Wars Outlaws. And I'll tell you why I included Star Wars Outlaws, because they did an incredible job bringing a massive open world game that I think got too much hate when it came out. Like, yes, it's not the best game I've ever played, but it's a very fun game in the Star Wars universe that gives you like a sandbox to just play around in a very fun time in the Star Wars continuity. Like, this is in between like when the Empire is taken over and like when like they're really at war with like, Luke Skywalker and all them. So a shout out to them, but they're not going to win this category. Cyberpunk 2077, like we've said, incredible launch title for the Switch 2. It really threw the flag in the ground saying like, hey, this system can handle high powered experiences, hardcore gaming experiences, massive sprawling, technically impressive RPGs. I don't think it's winning this one this year. That leaves us with Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, and Shinobi Art of Vengeance. All three are original games that came out this year. Incredible titles, incredible experiences, each and every one of them. I'm leaning Hades 2. It sounds like you were as well when I was reading off the nominees.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about Silksong, but it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier of just like I could recommend this game to anybody, and chances are they're going to like it a lot. It's an incredibly special game.
But shout out to Shinobi and Hollow Knight as well, because, God, they're both just special titles. And I feel like not enough people have jumped on board with Shinobi as I think it deserves. Hollow Knight and Hades have gotten a lot of attention this year. Happy to to give them their flowers, but Shinobi, just don't sleep on that, because that is one of the most beautiful games I've played all year, and one of the tightest controlling games, and like so many of those levels are just perfectly designed.
The thing about Shinobi is I don't think it looks that good in screenshots, but when you see it in motion, it's like, oh my God, has a game ever looked this good? Like, it's so cool. Also, shout out to Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I feel like that one gets really lost in the shuffle, but regardless, we're talking about Hades 2 here.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound also was one of the ones that was cut from this to make the short list. But yeah, incredible game as well. But I'm more of a Shinobi Art of Vengeance guy than Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Both are very good. But yeah, we're giving this one to Hades 2, which leaves us the final category. It's the big one, Best Nintendo Game of 2025. The nominees: Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby Air Riders, Mario Kart World, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Pokemon Legends ZA. For me, there's two here to choose from, but I'm wondering where you're at with this category.
There are two to choose from, but really there's one to choose from. The two to choose from are Metroid Prime 4 and Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Okay, we're in agreement there.
Yes. It pains me to say Donkey Kong Bonanza. I don't know why it pains me. I love that game. I love that game. Love it. But Metroid Prime 4 is so good. And I loved Metroid. And there's nothing I love more than Metroid Prime, except for a Nintendo EAD designed platformer. And I want to give it to Metroid because it's been so long, and in my opinion, they delivered despite having some flaws. But no Metroid Prime's perfect. But I think that Donkey Kong Bonanza, it is the better game. Like I gave Bonanza a 10, and I gave Metroid a 9. And I know both of those scores are higher than I think a lot of people have given them. I stand by it. My biggest thing about Donkey Kong Bonanza and why I would give it a 10 is people's biggest complaints is that some of the levels like blend together, and that a lot of the like the digging and stuff can feel samey. To me, the experience, I like 100%ing games that I love. And the pacing of 100%ing Donkey Kong Bonanza is so superior to Mario Odyssey that alone to me, I'm like, I constantly felt like I was doing things that I wanted to do. I wanted to get all the fossils. I wanted to explore every nook and cranny. I wanted to do every challenge to the highest ability that was asked of me. And I had such a blast with that. The end of that game is an all-timer. The music of that game is so good. The boss fights are so fun. The abilities are interesting. Like I think that Donkey Kong Bonanza gets a quote-unquote bad rap in comparison to Mario Odyssey. But yeah, I gotta go DK.
See, this is one of those ones where depending on what day you ask me, I might have a different answer. So I just looked at my official finalized game of the year list that all the Game Informer editors submit their top 10s every year. Mm-hmm. And right now I have Metroid Prime 4 at number 4 and Donkey Kong Bonanza at number 5. And depending on what day you ask me, those two could flip-flop. I think that any of them could be higher. The only things above those games for me this year are Ghost of Yotei, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, and Dispatch. So it's we are talking the cream of the crop in 2025. I could hear an argument for either one. I think personally, I would maybe give the edge to Metroid Prime 4, but you are so passionate about Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think it outweighs the fact that I have them neck and neck. You are this, where it's close, but there's a clear defined winner.
But also, I gotta say, dude, Metroid Prime 4, I haven't met somebody that likes it as much as me. So here, talking to you about this, it warms my heart. So it's I'm not going to get in the way of Metroid Prime 4 taking a big win here. Because, man, we're just talking about some real special games. Both of them. Some real special Nintendo games. And kind of similar to what you're saying, though. And I think that this is, I know we're at the end here. So just an interesting thing I want to bring up is we talked a lot about Breath of the Wild and Odyssey from that Switch 1 and how amazing those games are. And I feel like in that year, my number 1 and 2 games overall of all video games were those 2 games. And that was undebatable. There's not even a question. I look at it here and I haven't formed my top 10 fully yet, but I think that Donkey Kong and Metroid, similar to you, are going to be right next to each other. And I don't even know if they're making top 5 because of Hades 2 and Expedition 33, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong. they're probably right behind that, but it's such an amazing year, and I still haven't played Dispatch, which I know I'm going to fall in love with. So
It's
just been
good.
such a great year. I can't complain about either of them. Metroid, Donkey Kong, either way, I'm not mad. You can make the final call.
I mean, we're going to go Donkey Kong just because I feel like I have them right identical with each other, whereas you have Donkey Kong clearly a little bit better. So I think the law of averages says that we're going to give it to Donkey Kong today. I think if I was like, oh yeah, Metroid is absolutely the better game, then I would maybe argue a little bit more, but I'm perfectly fine giving it to Donkey Kong Bonanza. So Donkey Kong Bonanza takes home Best Nintendo Game, the most prestigious award you can take home from the All Things Nintendo podcast. Tim, before we wrap up here, what letter grade would you give Nintendo in 2025?
Now, are you asking me from my personal experience or business critically?
Hey, you are the person that I'm asking, so give me your personal grade. Okay.
I would give it an A. It's not the most enthusiastic, they nailed everything A, but it is, as a Nintendo fan that likes when they get a little bit weird. Huber over at Easy Allies, he always talks about swimming in sevens. I love swimming in sevens, man. I love video games. I love when I'm having fun, and I love that Nintendo consistently gave me opportunities to have fun this year, and I'm looking forward to the next couple months and beyond with a lot to look forward to. I give this an A.
I'm at A-, but still.
Oh, if we can do A-, I'll go A-. I like that. I thought we had to go full letters. A-, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I think A- is a great spot for this year. I mean, it's a fantastic year for Nintendo. Like A- is an incredible grade to get. I mean, you look at something like PlayStation or Xbox. I mean, Xbox is probably in like a C- or something like that, whereas like PlayStation's probably somewhere in like the mid B region. If I had to like just off the cuff grade them. I think they have great games, but like Xbox is tripping up a lot. PlayStation, I feel like a lot of their exclusives have not really landed recently outside of Ghost of Yotei.
Ghost of Yotei, Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Like, we're talking about some heavy hitters here, but I mean, I'm with you personally. But
yeah, Nintendo, I think it had the best year pretty easily out of any of the platform holders. So that's why I'm going A-. I can't go higher than that just because like you said, like if we're looking at like A+, that's like Nintendo's 2017, right? Like there's no way to really compete with that unless you replicate something similar. And they had a great year, like you said, swimming in sevens, and then you got stuff like Metroid and Donkey Kong that rise well above the 7 range. But yeah, I'm going A-.
And Hades 2, console exclusive on Switch.
That's a good point. Okay, yeah, so we'll finalize it A-. Before we get out of here, what does your outlook for Nintendo in 2026 look like?
Very positive, very excited. I think that I'm a huge Yoshi guy, so getting a new Yoshi game, I'm really stoked for. I will say that I'm a huge Yoshi's Island guy, and the games since then have never even come close to living up to those highs. Woolly World, I enjoyed a lot. Crafted World, I enjoyed significantly less. I'm hoping that Mysterious Book gets us back on track, and everything I'm seeing so far, I'm pretty excited for. So, and also, I love the Switch 2 edition. So the fact that we're getting more Mario Wonder, I'm very excited for that. And that
Animal Crossing
spring. I'm not a big Animal Crossing guy, but like, again, just thinking about the health of Nintendo, I think that that's really exciting for them. But yeah, I am more excited about what we don't know next year, because I'm expecting we're going to get some really, really good stuff.
Absolutely. And peeking behind the curtain here for people listening to this episode, next week's show will be all about the future of Nintendo and looking forward to 2026 and where we're heading there. I'll have another special guest for that. But that wraps up this final 2025 episode of All Things Nintendo. Tim, thank you so much for joining me for this celebration of the last year.
Thank you, man. Always a pleasure. I would love to be here as often as you'll have me.
Well, I will have you back as soon as possible. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. As you know, my Patreon and the associated Discord server are the best ways to get any questions or comments in, but you can also get in touch with me at brian@allthingsnintendo.com or hit me up on Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. Tim, what do you have to plug on the way out?
Oh, you can just follow me at Tim Gettys pretty much everywhere. And just check out Kind of Funny Games. We talk about video games every single day live on Twitch and YouTube. Cover the news, cover reviews, cover fun stuff. It's a good time.
It's the best time. Kind of Funny Games. Check them out. Amazing place. That is our show for this week. Thank you again so much for listening and supporting throughout 2025. I hope you've had a great holiday with your friends, family, loved ones. Take care. We'll see you in 2026. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of All Things Nintendo. Before we close out the show, I just want to give a special shout out to the $10 patrons of the podcast. Alex Stadnick, Andy Junkins, Ben Richland, Chad Brecky, Chaps My Ass, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jawar Hello, Johnny 5, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, KC Radio Man, Cody Gibson, Creeper 207, Ozman83, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichert, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Zane Sink, and Zek 3 Sword Sama. Thank you so much for your continued support. You are the reason I'm able to keep doing this week after week.
Every hero strikes out on their adventure for a different reason.
To prove myself worthy of my mother's praise.
To write my own story and discover who I really am.
To prove to my family that I am more than they believe me to be.
To revive the god that has chosen me.
But when the fragile balance of the world is in jeopardy, and sinister forces move in the darkness, heroes will be tested, pushed to their limits and beyond. And it will be left to them to determine if they are up to the task. There is a darkness rising. Will they be able to overcome the challenges and meet this evil head-on?
For my god.
For my story.
For my freedom.
For the world.
To restore the balance. Modified Role Season 2, The Chronicles of Erin, a D&D 5e actual play podcast. New season, new characters, new story. Find us on all the usual podcasting apps or at modifiedrole.com.